What's up, people? I am back here on YouTube to talk to you about introverted thinking and extroverted thinking. Yes, the entire side of my face right now is clipping. There's nothing I can do about it. The sunlight is too bright, and this sensor is a piece of junk. It's a webcam from like 1950. So this video quality looks like crap. There's nothing I can do about it. I have all the right tools, but I don't have all the right equipment. So video looks like crap. This entire side of my face is clipping, but suck it up. I don't care. Move on. So introverted thinking versus extroverted thinking. The distinction between these two things is the same distinction you can make between introverted feeling and extroverted feeling. Same with introverted intuition, extroverted intuition, and the same for sensing. Someone who uses extroverted thinking sees the world in a whole bunch of puzzle pieces that are outside of them, that are in the world. They see a whole bunch of random puzzle pieces that they can put together to create meaning. Now, with introverted thinking, it's not so much a puzzle more than it is you can actually see the entire picture. It's very much more broad. It's much more big picture, and it gives you a lot more broad information. It's not just a whole bunch of ideas scattered around everywhere. You can actually see the entire thing. It might be blurrier, but you can see the entire picture in one piece, rather than with TE, with extroverted thinking. All of meaning is just a whole bunch of random puzzle pieces all scattered around everywhere. So the way introverted thinking presents itself in a writing, the best way to find it is in debates. The introverted thinker will typically will jump around from topic to topic much less often than the extroverted thinker. The introverted thinker will spend a lot more time focusing on ideas, comparing ideas, contrasting ideas, more time on that than they will spend time on just jumping from topic to topic. The way they view an opposing argument is they will look at the argument, they will reduce it down to the bare bones, and then they will attack it in that bare bones format because that's easiest. Because they like to use ideas to fight things rather than external puzzle pieces. And then in a debate, the extroverted thinker is going to come across more as jumping around from topic to topic. They're not going to be terribly focused on any one idea. They're not really going to use lots of ideas. They're just going to use examples, facts, statistics, stuff like that. And they're not really going to look at things like a system. They're not going to look at things like one big picture. They're just going to look at things like little puzzle pieces. They're not going to see it like one big idea. They're not going to be able to fight introverted thinkers very well because the introverted thinker can say anything that an extroverted thinker says that's careless, and they can just reduce it to an idea and just destroy it in that format. And the extroverted thinker will think that the introverted thinker is stupid or doesn't understand them or whatever because they can't see those ideas in the same format that the introverted thinker can. And introverted thinking is very concerned about the why of things happen. If you tell them that when you press down a gas pedal it makes the car go, they don't really understand that because they need to know exactly what happens when the pedal is pushed. They want to know how that makes the car go. They want to know, okay, how does it interact with the engine? How does the engine make the car go faster and slower? How does the engine work? They need to know all of that before they can understand why pushing down the pedal works. But the extroverted thinker, when you tell them push down the pedal to make the car go, they'll understand that, and that's all that they need. Now, yes, the introverted thinker can take those instructions and figure out how to get the car to go, but they're not going to be satisfied with that. They're going to need to know more information. They're going to need to understand everything that's going on in that system to actually understand it. And until they do that, they're going to be a lot more confused about the system than the extroverted thinker, because they need to know everything that's going on. They need to be able to see the entire picture because that's how introverted thinking works. They see just a big image, and if there's a piece missing from that image, it doesn't work. So they need to see the entire image, whereas the extroverted thinker just needs to see one little puzzle piece here to make this idea work. and one little puzzle piece over there to make that idea work, because their thinking is so external. They don't need to see the whole big picture. They just need to see little pieces of it, because that's naturally how their mind works. Okay, so here's an example of when. So because I use introverted thinking, I'm going to give you a personal example of when I used introverted thinking. This was a long time ago. It was a school assignment. I was told to make a PowerPoint. No, I was told to write a 1 or 2 page long report about just a random topic, fashion in the 18th century, American fashion in the 18th century. I was given that topic. I was assigned to write a 1 or 2 page report about it, and I was given a whole bunch of a big cart full of books. Our class was given a big cart full of books from the library, and I had no idea how to go about it, because I never studied fashion before. I've never studied the 18th century before, at least not in that context. I don't know anything about fashion. I don't have any experience in that. So I was in a really, really bad spot. I can't just open up a book and see facts and start writing my interpretation of them. I have to understand exactly what's going on. I have to understand exactly what fashion is, what that idea means, what it represents, and I have to know all the history behind it. I have to know all the inner workings of it before I can truly understand it enough to actually write a report about it. So that was really a really difficult assignment. Now the assignment was essentially a question. I was supposed to answer a question like most essays. So what I ended up doing, because I was struggling so much with having to write a report on something that I knew nothing about, what I ended up doing, and because it was such a broad topic, it's an extremely broad topic, fashion in the 18th century. I don't know anything about that. I can't write a report about that. Even if I were to do research in books, there's no way I could comprehend that entire subject. There's no way I could possibly write that report. So what I ended up doing was I reduced that question to an idea. I reduced the essay question to an idea, and I made up my answer. Now it wasn't really it was a very extremely logical answer. It was a very simple answer. It made a ton of sense, but it was just so ridiculously simplified that it wasn't really informing at all. I wasn't very intelligent. So what I did to get points on that assignment, instead of a 0, instead of no points at all, was I fleshed out that logical topic with my introverted thinking, and I made a really ridiculously stupid simple idea into a very, very complex idea that no one would understand. I used lots of really big words, and I just fleshed it out a ton, and it ended up being an entire page. But it was essentially just saying one extremely simple, stupid idea. And I actually got a pretty good grade on it, despite the fact that I knew nothing about the 18th century, knew nothing about fashion. I didn't even do any research. But because I was able to make it look like I was very smart, even when I really wasn't, at least not on that topic. So I hope that's a good example of introverted thinking. I couldn't give you an example of extroverted thinking because I don't use that, but hopefully that will help you understand the difference. Okay, so that was a pretty short video. I usually make them longer than this, but I'm going to end it there because I really don't have a totally firm grasp on introverted thinking. I don't understand it well enough to keep going on and on about it. I think that's where a lot of confusion comes anyway, when people go on and on about things that they don't really know about. So I'm going to keep it at that so that I don't spread any misinformation. And I will tell you that the reason I'm doing this isn't because I want to tell people about extroverted thinking and introverted thinking, but it's really because I want to defend myself from the statement that many people have made that I'm actually an INTJ. Now, because I'm a firm believer in standing for the truth and being dutiful to the truth, as I've said many times in the comments, I want to make sure that everyone knows for sure that I'm an INFJ. And if someone gives me a logical argument for me not being an INFJ, I'm going to respect that argument. I'm going to respect that person's position, and I'm going to consider it. And I have, and I've I'm fighting that argument by saying that the reason I'm not an INTJ is because I use introverted thinking, and that's extremely evident in my writing style and in my personal experience with myself. So I realized that a lot of other people on YouTube never do this. The other YouTubers, especially the ones that I called out in my "You Are Not an INFJ" video, if you tell them that they're this type, they may or may not respond to you, but usually if they do, they don't use the functions, they don't use examples of how they've reacted to things, they don't use examples of how they've thought about things in the past. They just kind of write you off. They don't really think about it. They don't consider your feelings. They don't consider your perspective. They don't respect the facts that they're not dutiful to the truth. They don't care. They're not responsible with the influence they have, because lots of these people have thousands of subscribers, and I don't understand why they do that. I think it's stupid that if you have this viewership, if you have all these people watching you, and if someone has a logical, reasonable argument for you not being an INFJ or whatever type it is you claim to be, I think that you have a responsibility to consider those arguments. There shouldn't be any discussion about that, because it's just the way it should work. People have the right to know the truth, and if you're going to put if you're going to be a provider of information, you are responsible for doing everything you can to ensure that that information is accurate. You need to do everything you can to ensure that you're not spreading misinformation. If someone accuses you of wrongdoing, you need to know exactly why they're wrong. You need to tell them why they're wrong. You need to debate it. You need to talk about it. This is something that should be talked about. This is something that should be debated. And that's not happening on the other channels. So that's why I'm doing it on my channel. I'm making an entire video basically just saying why I think that I'm an INFJ rather than an INTJ, because I care about the truth. I want to make sure that what I'm telling you guys is correct. Now, if you watch this video and think that somehow I'm actually using extroverted thinking, write below, comment below, tell me your perspective. I want to hear from you guys, because I really want to make sure that I'm telling people the truth. I made that "You Are Not an INFJ" video because that wasn't happening. People weren't being dutiful to the truth. They were spreading misinformation. They were censoring people who disagreed with them, and it's something that needs to be stopped. I don't care if it offends those few people that I called out. It needs to be done. I know a lot of people think that I should have, well, one or two people think I should apologize for doing that, and they think that the reason that I did that was because I value logic over feeling, and therefore I'm an INTJ. To them I say, extroverted feeling is not a box. It's not a chain. It doesn't tell you that you can or can't do things. It is a preference. The extroverted feeler prefers harmony. The introverted feeling, someone who doesn't use extroverted feeling, might prefer something else, might prefer logic. But the extroverted feeling is very capable of doing what I did, is very capable of preferring logic over emotion, over feelings, over harmony. Because extroverted feeling is a preference. It is not a chain. It is not a box. It's not a rule. So if you're one of the people who think that I'm an INTJ and have looked at my thing for introverted thinking that I just did in this video, please comment below if you think that I'm wrong. I will respect your opinion as long as it's logical, as long as it's not a personal attack, as long as it's not ridiculously offensive. So please comment below if you think I'm wrong. If you think I'm spreading misinformation, please tell me about it. I would love to hear from you. I'm not one of the people who's going to just ignore you. Like I'm not going to name any names, but I'm not going to ignore you. I'm going to respect your opinion as best I can. So that's the way I do things on this channel. I want to make sure that I'm telling the truth. And if someone thinks that I'm not telling the truth, I'm going to do everything I can to respect their opinion to make sure that I am telling the truth. That is my top priority. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the truth. Have a nice day.